And welcome back to World Talks. I'm Anna Jabłońska. Now, to continue about the issue that we were just discussing, I am joined by John Hardie, Russia Program Deputy Director at Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I would like to start with Poland, because President Biden thanked Poland and, among other countries, very much for the help. I also spoke about Prime Minister Tusk boasting about helping U.S. with the exchange with the historical prisoner swap. However, many Poles hoped that on that plane, leaving that plane, we'll see Andrzej Poczobut, who is a Belarusian and Polish journalist and activist of the Polish minority in Belarus. However, we did not see him. Now, to be fair, I have to quote Radosław Sikorski, Minister of Foreign Affairs. He said, "I would like to assure you that efforts to release other political prisoners, including Belarusian political prisoner like Andrzej Poczobut, are proceeding, but along different avenues." However, the big question is, historical prisoner swap, shouldn't Poland also free a man just like Andrzej Poczobut?
Yeah, I can completely understand why Poles would be frustrated and disappointed. I think even Americans, although we, I hate to say fared better, but we got some of our people out of Russia, others were left behind as well. And so it's always disappointing when, some people come home, some don't. I think no one knows this better perhaps than Paul Whelan, one of the Americans who just came home. I mean, for years he watched other Americans, Trevor Reed, Brittany Griner, be swapped despite having been arrested after him. So, sometimes these things can be tough. And we don't exactly know what goes on behind closed doors in negotiations, why certain people were on the table and others not. But suffice it to say, I can certainly empathize with Poles who are frustrated.
And of course, don't get me wrong, we're very happy that your people returned home, and we hope that more people will do so in the future. Now, like you said, I mean, these negotiations lasted 2 years. 2 years of secret talks. The stakes were very, very high. And considering how many countries were in the picture here, how was this prisoner swap deal struck, do you think? How difficult must have this been?
Well, I think the negotiations were quite tough. I think what probably motivated the two sides, those being the U.S. and Russia, to strike it now is the impending elections here in the United States and the potentiality for a new administration to not want to do the deal, or at least you might be starting from scratch in the negotiation. So I think both sides probably had some motivation and incentive to get the deal done.
Now, how big of a deal is this for Joe Biden? And actually, I think we can connect Kamala Harris into this. And is this going to help her with her campaign, presidential campaign?
It's certainly a political win. And I think that administration officials have noted that Vice President Harris played a role at times in the negotiations alongside others. So it is a feather in the cap of the Democrats as they hit the campaign trail to try to elect Harris as the next president.
Because many thought, we also heard President Trump saying that he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine in just one day. He also said that he would free all the prisoners, but it actually turned out that Joe Biden actually hit that score. Now, I would like to show you a tweet from former Foreign Minister of Russia from 1990 to 1996, if we can have it on our screen right now. He said, "Happy for the release of hostages from Russia, but let's face it, Putin's regime sees a pattern of doing business with the West, to take people and foreign countries hostage and gain criminals and criminal catch in a swap of goodwill." Now, do you think this is a political game for Putin? Is this, such a PR swap? Is it just a PR tactic stunt for Russia, for Putin?
I wouldn't say it's a PR stunt. I mean, I think he certainly wanted people back, especially Vadim Krasikov, the FSB hitman who gunned down a Chechen asylee in Germany in 2019. I mean, Putin has mentioned his case publicly, so I think he did want him back quite badly. And indeed, it's possible that Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter, was taken hostage precisely to increase leverage for such a trade. I think the real risk here, if there is one, is in incentivizing Russia or other authoritarian countries to take hostages precisely to get back people they want. These could be spies or criminals, as in this case with Russia. And so, the United States and Russia have a long history of trading spies for spies in these sorts of swaps. But the danger is in, teaching Russia that they can get what they want by taking innocent people, journalists, activists, people who have nothing to do with espionage or criminality, hostage in order to get their own spies or criminals back.
Now, would you say that this is the end of journalism as we know it? I mean, I'm sure after this, not many journalists from the West are going to go to Russia to actually show us, to be our eyes in Russia, to show us the objective picture, to show us objective stories that are happening over there. Do you think this is going to be the end of it?
Well, it's certainly gotten very, very tough between the pressure from the Russian security services to the draconian laws passed since Russia launched its full-scale invasion, and even before that, really since Putin took power back at the turn of the century, it's been a steady increase of state control over the media, especially since he came back to the presidency in 2012, and then really since February 2022, as I said. There are still Western journalists in Russia, although they have to be very careful what they say and who they try to investigate or report on. There are also excellent Russian journalists still doing work in Russia or outside of Russia. Outlets like Medusa and the Insider, important stories that are really doing a quality, vital work. So journalism isn't dead, but it's certainly not healthy.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about those who are left, who are still in Russian prisons? Do we know a number of people who are still there and who they are?
Absolutely. There are still two Americans that spring to mind, at least two Americans, Mark Fogel, a teacher, and Ksenia Karlina, a former ballerina, who's in Russia. There are also 800 Russian political prisoners locked up in various parts of Russia, and many others, as you mentioned earlier, the Polish Belarusian journalists. The list really goes on and on and on. So, there's no shortage of work for U.S. and other Western diplomats to try to get these people back.
Now, do you believe that in the future, in the near future, well, near future meaning a couple of years, we can see another one of these swaps? Perhaps this time Lukashenko is going to be involved as well.
Well, I certainly hope we'll get people back. I mean, the trouble is, I don't think Russia's just going to give up these, the hostages for nothing. So it kind of depends on who we have to trade, and we do have to be careful. We've already gone well down this road, not just with Russia, but also others like Iran in this hostage swap game. So we do need to be kind of careful, and maybe after this swap, reevaluate our strategy and whether it's actually incentivizing worse behavior or is the wise course of action.
Well, it certainly is a very difficult issue to even talk about. I mean, when we see the footage that from the United States, it's definitely heartwarming that cases like this are being resolved and these people are back with their family. John Hardie, Russian Program Deputy, Foundation for Defense of Democracies, was my guest. Sir, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talk. Stay with us for more news and comments here on TVP World.